The music world is in mourning today as heartbreaking news emerges about world-renowned violinist and conductor André Rieu. Known as the King of the Waltz, Rieu has spent decades bringing joy to millions around the globe with his breathtaking performances, vibrant orchestras, and infectious passion for music. But now, a shocking announcement from his team has left fans devastated. André Rieu is reportedly saying goodbye after receiving a tragic diagnosis that has changed everything. For years, Rieu has been a symbol of elegance, warmth, and timeless artistry. His concerts were more than musical events. They were celebrations of life, love, and beauty. But behind the curtain, the beloved maestro has been quietly battling a health condition that few knew about. According to insiders close to his family, the recent diagnosis came as a sudden blow, forcing Rieu to reconsider his touring schedule and, heartbreakingly, his future on stage. Those who have worked alongside him describe the atmosphere in Maastricht, his hometown and the heart of his musical empire, as somber but filled with respect. He gave his life to music, one colleague shared. Even when he was unwell, he'd walk onto the stage with a smile, determined to make people happy. That's who André is. Fans from across the world, from Vienna to Tokyo, Sydney to New York, have flooded social media with messages of love, gratitude, and disbelief. "His music healed my soul," one fan wrote. It's impossible to imagine a world without André Rieu's waltz. As news spreads, questions linger about what's next for the maestro. Is this truly the end of his performing career? How serious is his condition? And what message did André Rieu leave for his fans before stepping away from the spotlight? Stay with us, because the truth behind André Rieu's emotional farewell will break your heart and inspire you at the same time. For decades, André Rieu has filled concert halls and open-air arenas with music that transcends borders and generations. Known for his radiant smile, graceful conducting, and dazzling performances with the Johann Strauss Orchestra, Rieu made classical music feel alive again, accessible, emotional, and joyful. But behind that infectious joy, few could have guessed that the man who made millions dance to the sound of the waltz was quietly facing one of the most difficult challenges of his life. According to close family sources, the first signs of trouble appeared months before the public had any idea. Rieu reportedly began experiencing bouts of fatigue, dizziness, and pain that doctors initially believed were minor complications from exhaustion and stress, understandable for someone maintaining such a demanding touring schedule. For a man who had performed in over 100 countries and played thousands of concerts, slowing down simply wasn't part of his vocabulary, but as the symptoms persisted, André's team urged him to undergo a full medical evaluation. What doctors discovered would change everything. The diagnosis, which his family has chosen to keep private for now, revealed a serious and progressive health condition, one that would inevitably impact his ability to perform with the same energy and precision that defined his legendary career. When Rieu received the news, those close to him say he was silent for a long time. This was not a man who feared hard work or the toll of travel, but the idea of being separated from his music, from the orchestra that had become his family, was unbearable. For André, music wasn't a profession. It was his identity, his purpose, and his greatest source of joy. For years, he had defied expectations, performing marathon concerts that often lasted more than 3 hours, conducting and playing the violin with youthful energy well into his 70s. But now, doctors warned that continuing at such an intense pace could worsen his condition. They gently urged him to rest, words that Rieu had never learned to accept. Those who witnessed the moment say the decision to scale back wasn't just about his health. It was about heartbreak. André has always believed that music is medicine, said a longtime member of his orchestra. The idea that he might have to stop, even temporarily, felt like losing part of himself. Despite the devastating news, Rieu handled the diagnosis with grace and courage. In private, he shared his fears with his wife, Marjorie, who has been his rock and creative partner for decades. She reminded him of the countless lives his music had touched, the people who laughed, cried, and fell in love to his waltzes. "You've given the world happiness," she told him. Now it's time to take care of yourself. In the weeks that followed, André began to quietly cancel or postpone select performances, leading fans to wonder what was going on. Rumors began to circulate online, with many fearing the worst. But in his usual humble way, Rieu avoided sensational headlines, preferring to keep his private battle away from the spotlight. Still, he couldn't help but feel the pull of the stage. Even during treatment and rest, he reportedly kept his violin nearby, practicing soft melodies each morning as a form of therapy and comfort. "Music heals," he once said in an interview, "and I believe it heals me too." The emotional toll was immense, not just for him, but for the orchestra that had traveled the world with him for more than 35 years. Many of them described the atmosphere during rehearsals as bittersweet, filled with gratitude for their time together, but shadowed by uncertainty about the future. André Rieu's diagnosis may have changed the course of his career, but it hasn't broken his spirit. Even in the face of heartbreak, he continues to find hope in the melodies that made him a global icon. As one of his closest friends put it, he may have to slow down, but the music will never stop living inside him. The moment André Rieu took the stage for what many now call his most emotional concert ever, the audience sensed something was different. The grand square of Maastricht, his beloved hometown, shimmered under the soft glow of golden lights. The air was filled with both excitement and unease, a quiet whisper among fans that this might be the last time they would see the King of the Waltz perform live. When the orchestra began tuning their instruments, Rieu stood at the center, holding his iconic Stradivarius violin. The usual sparkle in his eyes was still there, but there was something else too, a gentleness, a quiet acceptance. As the crowd erupted in applause, André smiled warmly, pressing his hand to his heart before lifting his bow. What followed was not just a concert, it was a farewell wrapped in music, gratitude, and love. The evening opened with The Blue Danube, the waltz that defined his career. As the melody floated through the air, thousands swayed in rhythm, many with tears streaming down their faces. They weren't just hearing music. They were feeling the weight of decades of memories, laughter, and joy that André had given them. Each note carried the bittersweet message that this chapter was coming to a close. Midway through the performance, Rieu paused. The crowd fell silent as he looked around the square, his voice trembling slightly. "For more than 40 years, he began, you have danced with me. You've allowed me to share my heart through my music. Every face I see tonight is a reminder of why I've done this, and because music connects us in ways words never can." He went on to thank his orchestra, many of whom had been with him since the very beginning, calling them his second family. The musicians wiped away tears as he described how their laughter and dedication had kept him strong even during the hardest days of his illness. "When I couldn't stand," he said softly, "you carried me with your music." Then came the moment that left the audience completely overcome with emotion. Rieu announced that this would be his final major tour, saying, "My doctors tell me I must slow down, but I want you to know the waltz will never stop in my heart. Even when I can no longer play, it will continue through all of you." He then dedicated his next piece to his late parents, who had nurtured his passion for music from childhood. As the orchestra began Ave Maria, André closed his eyes and played with a tenderness that silenced the night. The haunting beauty of the melody filled the square, and by the time the final note faded, thousands were quietly weeping. Afterward, Rieu stepped forward to address his fans one last time. "Don't be sad for me," he said. "Be happy that we shared this journey together. If you ever hear a waltz in the distance, know that I'm there, smiling, bowing, and thanking you for letting me live my dream." The crowd responded with a standing ovation that lasted over 10 minutes. People waved candles, flags, and handwritten signs reading, "We love you, André, and thank you for the music." Even members of his orchestra struggled to play the encore through their tears. Backstage after the show, André was visibly moved. Surrounded by his closest friends and musicians, he quietly said, "This isn't goodbye forever. It's just a pause. The music will go on, even if I must listen instead of play. That night, social media lit up with tributes from fans across the world. Concert-goers described the performance as a spiritual experience, while others called it the most beautiful farewell in music history. Clips of the concert went viral, showing Rieu's emotional bow and his heartfelt words of gratitude. In a world often filled with noise, André Rieu's farewell reminded everyone what true artistry looks like: humility, grace, and love expressed through sound. His diagnosis may have changed his path, but his spirit and his waltz will continue to echo in the hearts of millions. After his tearful farewell performance in Maastricht, André Rieu quietly retreated from the global stage that had defined his life for over 4 decades. For the first time in years, the world's most beloved violinist and conductor wasn't surrounded by lights, applause, or orchestras. Instead, he returned to the quiet comfort of home, a life centered around peace, reflection, and gratitude. In his hometown, nestled among the cobblestone streets and charming canals of the Netherlands, André's life has taken on a slower rhythm. Those who have visited him say he spends most of his mornings walking through his garden, a place he once described as his private concert hall of nature. Birds provide the symphony now, and the soft wind plays harmony with the trees. Sometimes, neighbors say, he brings his violin and plays a few gentle notes just for himself, melodies that seem to drift into the air and disappear like whispers. For André, the transition from global performer to private citizen wasn't easy. For more than 40 years, his life had been a whirlwind of rehearsals, tours, and performances across continents. His orchestra members often joked that André only rested when his bow did. But as his health began to demand gentleness, he embraced stillness with the same grace he once brought to the stage. Close friends describe him as peaceful but contemplative. He misses the audiences, of course, one confidant shared. But he's found a new kind of beauty in silence. He says it's like hearing the world breathe again. Rieu still keeps his violin within reach. On quiet evenings, he practices softly, sometimes playing old waltzes, other times improvising new melodies inspired by memory. Though his body has slowed, his fingers still move with elegance and his heart still beats in time with music. "As long as I can hold the violin," he reportedly told a friend, "I am alive." Family has become his greatest comfort. His wife, Marjorie, remains his constant companion, the person who has been beside him through every note and every challenge. Together they enjoy peaceful days at their home in Maastricht, often hosting small dinners with close friends, sharing laughter and stories from years on the road. Their bond, forged through both art and love, is stronger than ever. Rieu also spends much of his time writing, reflecting on his extraordinary journey from a shy young violin student to one of the most celebrated musicians in the world. Sources close to him reveal that he's working on what may become his final book, a deeply personal memoir filled with lessons about perseverance, gratitude, and the healing power of music. "It's not about fame," he once said. "It's about people, those who believed, those who listened, and those who danced." Though André no longer tours, he hasn't completely disappeared from the public eye. From time to time, he records small video messages for fans, thanking them for their unwavering love and support. In one recent message, he smiled warmly and said, "Don't worry about me. I am surrounded by love, by music, and by beautiful memories. I am not saying goodbye, I'm simply changing tempo." The phrase, "changing tempo," quickly became symbolic among his fans, a gentle reminder that life, like music, moves in movements. There is joy in allegro, sorrow in adagio, and peace in the final coda. Those who pass by his home often hear faint strains of violin music floating through the open windows. "It's not a concert anymore. It's something purer, something just for him." "He's not playing for applause now," a neighbor said softly. "He's playing for the love of sound, for his soul." Even as his health continues to limit him, André's legacy lives stronger than ever. His orchestra continues to tour in his honor, playing the arrangements he crafted, keeping his spirit alive through every bow stroke. They often begin each concert with his favorite phrase projected on the screen: "The waltz must go on, because love never stops dancing." Though he may have stepped away from the stage, André Rieu's music and the joy it brought will continue to echo for generations. In the stillness of his garden, surrounded by peace, love, and melody, he has found what so many search for but few ever find: harmony. As the world slowly adjusts to the absence of André Rieu from the grand stages he once commanded, one undeniable truth becomes clearer every day. His legacy is far too powerful, too deeply rooted in the hearts of millions, to ever fade away. Though illness may have silenced the relentless touring schedule that defined his life for decades, the echoes of his music continue to resonate across continents, a lasting reminder of the man who reinvented classical performance for the modern world. Before Rieu, waltz music was often considered a relic of the past. Beautiful, yes, but fading into the shadows of history. André changed that entirely. With his dazzling concerts, joyful showmanship, and signature passion, he brought the waltz back into living rooms, plazas, and arenas. He didn't just revive a genre, he resurrected it. André's legacy can be felt every time a child picks up a violin for the first time and dreams of performing in front of thousands. His influence lives in the musicians of his Johann Strauss orchestra, many of whom credit him with giving them a career, a family, and a chance to share their gift with the world. He taught us not just how to play, one violinist shared, but how to feel every note. That is what made the audience feel alive. Teachers around the world have reported a rise in young students inspired by André, not because he was famous, but because he made music fun again. A fan once wrote, "He made classical music smile." That may very well be the simplest and most perfect summary of his life's work. But perhaps Rieu's greatest legacy lies not in the music itself, but in the emotions he stirred. His performances were filled with laughter, dancing, tears, and togetherness. Couples proposed during his concerts. Families traveled across oceans just to share a night of beauty. People who had suffered loss found comfort in his melodies. Music should heal, André often said, and he made sure it did. Even now, as he spends his days in quiet reflection, the world continues to celebrate him. Fans organize tribute concerts. Communities play his recordings during holidays and family gatherings. His heart remains present wherever his music is heard. André once said something that now carries even deeper meaning: "When I leave this world, I want to leave beauty behind." He has, and so much more. His final message to fans, delivered in a handwritten letter shared online, captured everything he stood for. "Thank you for dancing through life with me. Never stop waltzing. The world needs the joy." Those words, simple yet profound, have become a promise between André and those who love him. His fans are determined to keep that promise, to continue sharing the joy he gave them, to keep the waltz alive, to never let his music be forgotten. There will come a day many years from now when new generations will discover André Rieu through recordings, documentaries, and cherished stories. They will see a man smiling with his violin against his shoulder, his eyes bright with love for the audience. And they will dance, because that is his true legacy. Not fame, not awards, not sold-out arenas, but connection, love, humanity, reminder that beauty still exists in the world. If you're just willing to listen, the king of the waltz may have taken his final bow, but the music he gave us will never stop playing.